Hello everyone, and welcome back to another one of my videos. I'm Gary Winter, and today we're going to be talking about estate planning for personal property using the Personal Property Memorandum. I'm going to call that a PPM for short, just because that's kind of a mouthful. And this video is part of my tutorial series on DIY estate planning and the DIY estate planning toolbox, where I talk about all the tools you have available to you to take to protect yourself and your family. Even doing it somewhat yourself or with minimal investment. So along with this particular tutorial video, we have a software tool for you that you can create your own PPM and a video that walks through how to use the software. So check out this video, and at the end I'll share a link to our website where you can watch a second instructional video that walks through the software, and you can even build your own PPM if you'd like to. Very short, very easy to use, so don't be afraid to give that a try. Before we dive in further, as always, we appreciate your feedback. So if you like this video or you appreciate our efforts to educate the community, then please drop a like or share the video on social with your friends and family and spread the word about our resources and what we're trying to do. So now let's check this out. So first of all, what is personal property? And anything like a car or a furniture, item of furniture, your coffee maker, your couch, piece of jewelry, art, those are movable, kind of tangible personal property items. That is personal property. Personal property is not cash, investments, real estate, intangible personal property things like that. So people ask me all the time, I have a bunch of family heirlooms, or I have some small items that I want to give to certain kids or grandkids. How do I go about doing that? And the answer is, well, you could do a couple different things. You could put tape on the back of your furniture and art with a name on it, like my grandmother did, but that feels a little bit weird to some people, especially if you're young and it might be a long time before you were to pass away. But if you want something really clear and enforceable, California allows you to make your own list as long as you follow some rules. So that list that you make by yourself is called this Personal Property Memorandum. So let's take a look at some scenarios where we might want to use it or we might not want to use it. So first of all, if you have kids from a prior relationship, I think it's really critical to use a personal property memorandum for family things that are inexpensive, because there's usually a lot of them. They're vacation trinkets or pictures, even things like that really aren't particularly expensive. You don't necessarily want to put it in your will, but this is a great place for using a personal property memorandum to say that those things go to your kids from the prior relationship and not to your surviving spouse. Another scenario is, even if you're not a blended family and you've got a lot of items that you want to give to certain children or maybe grandkids or someone else, like a watch to your sibling or something like that. Those are good scenarios where you might want to use a PPM. When you don't want to use it is when all of your property is just going to your family and it's kind of share and share alike. That's probably not really necessary. Or if you've got really expensive stuff like jewelry and valuable jewelry and art. So let's say you think a PPM might be a good tool for you. Let's take a look at this one. And here's a form that we created. It's not a magical form. It's not blessed by the state government or anything like that. It's just a simple form that allows you to enter the property description, the location, the name and address there in the table. You can sign and date, and then these 4 or 5 statements up at the top there are just simply references to the rules. And so we'll go through each one of them just a little bit so you guys are familiar with when you can and can't do this. So the first thing that I would note is that you need to have a valid will, and potentially, if you do a trust-based plan, then you have a will and a trust. And if you want to use a personal property memorandum, it's not a will. It's a supplement to your will or your trust. So, and when you use this thing, your will has to refer to it. So, if you have an existing will and now you want to add a PPM on there, you need to make sure that your will is either restated or amended to reflect that you have this thing and that you want to use it. The second thing is it needs to be in your, written. It needs to be handwriting or printed like this, dated and signed. You don't need formalities of notaries and witnesses, but it's got to be in writing. The property obviously has to be described well enough that we can locate it and to give it to the recipient. And probably the biggest thing here is that no single item of property really should exceed $5,000 in value, and collectively it should not exceed $25,000. If it does, then we can't use a personal property memorandum for that. So, really important point, we talked about having a specific reference in your will and trust. I want to show you what that looks like. This is an example of a will form that identifies a person and their family, marital status, kids. And then Article 2 right there says, I request the beneficiaries of my estate, my executor, honor the provisions of a memorandum written by me directing the disposition of my tangible personal property. And I'll mention there that it's any memorandum. So if you don't have to have one, but if you do, you're just asking that your administrator of your estate and the beneficiaries just respect that. And all right. So let me flip the screen there. Wrap-up tips. So just what we talked about here is, remember, it's tangible personal property items only, not cash, real estate, or investments. Nothing individually more than $5,000 in value on that list, or collectively more than 25. Formalities not required. Change it as often as you want, but it has to be written down and signed. By the way, animals are considered personal property. So if you have an inexpensive animal, you could use a PPM for that. Like we discussed, a really great opportunity to use one of these tools is to distribute family heirlooms that are not particularly expensive to children from a prior relationship. If you've been remarried, this is a good way to minimize the risk of a fight if you pass away before your spouse. And don't forget that your will or trust needs to specifically mention your personal property memorandum. All right, a couple of resources. If you would like to create your own PPM online, you can go to lovex.com/PPM. That's where our online tool is. And you can walk through an interview, and it'll actually ask you the questions. You put in the information, and at the end of it, you'll just download your signed form. If you're one of our colleagues, an estate planning attorney, here's a couple of references for you to the code that deals with PPMs, and a couple of references in secondary practice guides that we found helpful. If you want professional help with your estate plan or business succession planning, our team at LawVex is really fantastic. If you don't need or want professional help at this time, here's just some contact info. You can follow us on Facebook, obviously at facebook.com/LawVexLLP. If you have a specific question or a thought for me, or something else that you want to see in one of these videos, you can follow me at Gary Winter Law on Twitter, or shoot me an email. I don't mind communicating with people and checking in with them. So anyway, thanks for watching the video. We really appreciate your following on the channel, and we'll see you next time.